Is it going, everyone? Today we are live with Joanna from Soon. Joanna, in your own words, can you please describe Soon to us in a bit of words, and then we can dive deeper into what you guys are cooking?
Of course, yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Adonis. I am the co-founder and CEO of Soon Network, and we initially started as more of an infra project, right? Um, we looked into the high performance stack, right, and providing that as a service. We call it high performance as service to exchanges to dexes, and then that involved into our own actually experiment with our own stack. And now yeah, soon is all about making high performance infra and application accessible to everyone.
Very interesting. So now you're saying that with Soon, like any other chain can build on top of the stack of Soon. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we are using SVM underneath, which is the Solana virtual machine, high performance in terms of high, like, parallel execution, right? The high throughput. And we did a bunch of performance optimization here for maybe the more technical minds. We ended up adding like localization into SVM, and also made it really, with the ZK on the fraud proof side, that make it even more secure than most of the chains out there. So yeah, so we basically did the entire like chain design for anybody who wants to just use the stack to put their you know trading apps on top of this infrastructure. And in the process, I think we were about to get into this, but I'm just gonna start talking about the new product that we just launched. Actually, still saying we are launching, but we just launched this week. Yeah, and it's using X402, and making it the very first agentic or AI native mini perp on base.
Very, very interesting. So you are basically talking about X402. For somebody who's like completely new to this,
Yeah.
how would you describe like X402, and what would you say is like the purpose of the product that you've built out? What is the thesis behind
Yeah.
it? If you can walk me through like the problem it is trying to solve in the
Yeah,
universe.
yeah, good point, good point. I should just start with the basics, right? Um, so first of all, I think we all seen, you know, um, how AI has disrupted many industries, right, including our own. And I think when folks talking about trading apps, right, it is still a very high barrier to entry, right, for folks that wanted to try out like a perp dex or perpetual dex, which is just um, a normal dex with leverage, right? So that's a perp dex. Um, it is it's a lot of learning in terms of like having to figure out the margins, right? The watching the overnight risks, watching the liquidation positions, right? So we saw this as the biggest pain point for onboarding folks into, you know, today's perp trading, and none of the perps ahead of this has been focusing on solving this pain point. And I really do believe this is going to be like the fourth generation, right? That next generation of perp decks. First generation being like the DYDX back in the day, and then you have GMX, and then now Hyperliquid, where which everyone is raving about. But again, not really simple enough. The UX is not simple enough for folks to onboard as a complete like crypto non-native. So X402 really is the key to solving this problem, in the sense that you only give the permission to that X402 agent once, right? It's a single signature flow, and then it will do all these payment for you, and then calculate the PNL, and L, and then also repatriate that PNL gains. Let's say in the scenario when you do make a gain, directly into your wallet. So it's really simplified quite a bit, right? The entire process of like opening up your wallet and signing a bunch of times. And then what we further did with our version of this we call mini perp is that we build it in the short frequency. So it's even as short as 30 seconds. So folks can just, yeah, basically participate in the trading experience, and then it auto closes after 30 seconds, right? So there's no overnight risk. That's one of the biggest mistakes I think as a newbie to perp trading would make. It's, you are actually making money on the position, but you forgot to close it out. And then by the time you wake up in the morning, it like round trip back into like where you started the position. So yeah, so this is all meant to be a completely revamping the user experience, right? Using all these new innovative designs, right? And especially with the X402 AI agent, it helps you to, yeah, start your first journey.
It's really funny you mentioned that overnight round tripping because that exact situation has actually happened with me. And it's
Exactly.
so funny because
It
I
happened to everybody.
thinking of closing this position, and I don't trade perps as such, right? And one of the reasons I don't trade perp is because I believe that apart from some niche specialized platforms such as Axiom,
Mhm.
for example, a lot of perps try to jam in too many features on too small a screen, and
Mhm.
that causes a lot of confusion. Of course, I'm not going to name names, but some of the largest players are actually guilty of doing this, which is they've built themselves for the pro tail so much that actually the gap between retail and pro tail has never been higher. And now you're in this situation where which is very similar to vibe coding in today's world, where okay, somebody who's completely beginner wants to get into it and everybody on Twitter talks about how simple it is, but when you
Yeah,
actually try to do it, you're like, what the hell is a terminal and what is npm and how do I install this? And it's very confusing on the ground level when you actually try to do it. And I think like with especially something like which is as financially iterative and feedback providing as perps. I think if you just observe how people are using your platform, you just give it to them and you just like do like an observational study of them, you would realize so much like where people are going wrong. It's honestly
exactly.
insane how much this happened. So I think this entire round tripping story reminds me that once I distinctly remember having a position, it was in profit, and I go to the washroom because I'm about to hit the bed, and I'm like, let me just hit the toilet. I'll come back and I'll close this position. I completely forget and I sleep. Wake up in a loss, and I'm like, wow, what are the odds of that happening? So you talk a
Exactly.
little bit about UX specifically. So I'm very passionate about UX. I practically review apps all the time based on UX. So can you talk to me a little bit about like the UX philosophy you guys have employed? Like
Mhm.
why is UX for you guys such an important thing to focus on right now in 2026?
Yeah, for sure. I think if you just go to our website and try it yourself, it's called 100x, by the way, 100x soon, because the leverage can go high, right, to 100x. And yeah, you can see within you know like the first few seconds, right? It's a gamified experience. It's gamified DeFi, in 30 seconds, right? So it's really meant to be for high adrenaline rush, and folks that again, just wanted to kind of try out as a new to this perp trading experience. um, all you that the flow is very simple, right? So you just first choose your currency, right? Like how much you, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, how much you want to bet on, right? So, it's meant to be kind of like a small amount to start out, right? 10 USDC to 300 USDC here, exactly. And then the leverage you can choose, let's just say the default 100x here. And then your downside is capped. It's simple, right? Like it's very easy to see here. Your downside is capped at that initial,
Mm.
funding currency. So let's say you just choose the 10 USDC here, but your upside is actually, can be quite high, right? I wouldn't say infinite, but it's very, very high, right? If you go up to the higher leverage here.
Yep.
So you're just betting on the next. 30 seconds of movement of the, here is a Bitcoin I saw earlier. We
Hmm.
chose that um, Bitcoin USDC, sorry, USD pair, right?
Hmm.
So USDT pair. So you can just um, follow like the next 30 seconds, and then I think you will have to first put in money here because I see zero here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
On
something in capital. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can send you the test. I should have
No
done this.
worries, no worries. But
Yeah,
that's not the
I
point.
can send
Actually,
you some tests.
I was
Yes.
just looking at it and like I was trying to analyze it. I think what would be really cool, and probably you can take this to like marketing team as
Yeah,
well, is that if you implement like an intro video as well in like the very beginning. I'm not
I
saying
would
like
do that. I would do.
very insanely high production video. No, not like that. Just like a loom recording or like like a focusing video or a
100%.
cam video, and
Hundred
that would
percent.
be that would go such a long way because what I've seen is it's it's usually the things you don't worry about. It's usually the things
Right.
that you assume to be already in place, like nobody needs them. Like, and this is very much prevalent within AI native projects. I have to say this because most of crypto XAI projects, the problem where it starts is yes, they're loaded up on features, but they're very difficult to use because if and especially with like again, will not name names, but like AI powered crypto wallets, they have this very specific problem where I do not know what I can say to it without it breaking or losing my funds. And there's a high downside risk. So if you think about it, like usually in LLMs, what's the worst that will happen? Okay, you'll exhaust your tokens, right? Okay, fine.
Right.
They will replenish. When you're doing this with a wallet, you're like, oh my God, if I say, if it understands me incorrectly, it can
Hmm.
mess up my funds, right? So, and I think that every time something will have like trading and AI enabled with it, my first fear is always going to be, okay, but is there a possibility that I communicate with it in a wrong manner and
Yeah.
it like opens up a position where I did not want it to open a position? So I'm happy to see like you guys have kept the UI UX very, very simple. And this is like very normie friendly. Do you guys
Yeah.
intend to bring it to mobile as well?
Exactly. Yeah. So like because we were not able to start that 30 seconds just now, but what you will see is like it will you know start this whole real time movement of the currency, and then you have 30 seconds of watching in real time to like really have a certain degree of confidence, right? Where the next move is gonna be. So yeah, it's very like
Mhm.
people say that it's very gamified,
Yep.
and certainly we wanted to make this on the mobile client side, so it's easier for folks to like um,
Yep.
just do that on the go. Um, but I do want to emphasize one thing though. So this is one of the ecosystem projects on Soon. We actually ourselves did not build it, but we helped incubate it, right? So um, I'm really like very proud of the ecosystem as always, but this project in particular, I think just really demonstrated, um, the quick execution that we see in the ecosystem, and the project itself is built on top of the X42 facilitator that Soon is developing. This is what I was telling you earlier.
Yikes. Let me just add it back. No worries, you're back.
We're good. Okay.
No
Yeah,
worries.
this is what I was telling you earlier with the high performance, feature, right? We ended up, rebuild the X42 facilitator, which is kind of like I guess if you think of it as a chain, it's like the validator right underneath. So it can handle these type of very high frequency microtransaction, right? So when you saw earlier, like people can be doing that kind of 10 USDC 300 USDC type of transactions, in a very short frequency, very
Mhm.
short currencies, and we build that underlying infrastructure to handle. We actually saw some issues when we didn't have this infrastructure. um, we did some experiments in the past where we broke the X42 facilitator for like a few minutes. So yeah, it was really interesting to
Mhm.
to basically
Like free
see how
stress
the
testing for you guys.
yeah, exactly. We did the stress testing. We did the reiteration of the product. We provided guidance to to the team.
Mhm.
Rita is the main
Mhm.
contributor of this ecosystem project. Yeah,
Yep.
but really great to see it finally come to fruition. Yeah, after a month of
Yep.
obsession.
And I would also say that one thing I think the team has done really well, which I really like, is just spelling it out here in like plain English. Like, I think
Yeah,
this is so underrated that they decided to say, you know what, we will just make it like easy to understand for everyone. You just pay 300 USDC for perp trading in 30 seconds. That's it.
exactly,
Simply.
exactly. I mean, the barrier to entry cannot be lower than that, right?
Yep. And I would also say that like with pubs, what at least what I'm noticing is that slowly the execution itself is becoming commoditized. Like everybody on the back end, it's very rare now to be a perp of sizable name and not have your orders go through. Of course, there's like auto deleveraging and all of these other topics which, you know, cause havoc in the market every time there's like a 10th of October kind of situation. Everybody's like, oh my God, am I really safe against this? But everybody eventually comes back, right? So I think UX is becoming that sort of like focal point for most people to shift to. So if you look at, there's like projects like Dreaming, for example. I always keep talking about Noise Agent. FOMO, try FOMO is another good one. You know, all of these are like very nuanced, very carefully crafted experiences, and I am 100% sure that the founders really took their time when it came to like designing each and every single swipe and slide of that.
100%. Hundred
And
percent.
we when
We
we look
work
at like, yeah.
closely with. Sorry, no, I just wanted to tell you that we work really closely with like base team, Stevie
Hmm.
team. Get the product feedback there, but
Mhm.
also with just thousands of users. Like it's really not like a random number. I'm telling you, it's a lot of people that we have given some beta test for.
Yep.
So yeah, to your point, every single click was intentional. In the sense that um, it needs to make that UX like actual crisp.
Yep.
And one thing I also want to mention is I think when people talk about X4 too, right? It's almost like a bit of a why do that matter, right? Like why should we talk about it? It's for the developers, right? Like as a somebody who's not directly having a hand in um, AI or X42, it's very hard to get their attention to talk about it. So um, I really applaud like Coinbase for using its cloud, right, to get all the right players, enterprise players to really take notice. Cloudflare, what is it like Stripe? Yeah, all the big fintech companies are currently considering using S42 for their enterprise payment use case. However, coming back to our world, right, this crypto native world, um, I think it is time, right, for us to actually bring X42 power, the power of X42 to to a degen, to a trader, to a typical crypto guy, right? Like to basically the end user, right? So this is why I think also the base team, was very excited to hear about this because we are building a consumer grade trading experience using X42. It's a completely brand new, use case that they haven't seen before.
And I would also say that Coinbase has been doubling down on the acquisition of consumers. Like they've tried to
Yeah,
like in like
yeah.
markets into their app. They've
And
made the base
trading.
app. Yep.
More recently, you saw Jesse's tweet, right? Talking
Yes.
about like, now we're gonna be trading first as opposed to social first. It's yeah, very refreshing to see, the transparency of like, such a big transition. Hmm.
Correct. And I would also say that when you guys kind of set out with this idea that, okay, we want to support ecosystem projects, I'm pretty sure now with, the eventual success of 100x soon, a lot of people would want to build on soon as well. So where should a builder who's listening to this right now, or a consumer even who's listening to this right now,
Yeah,
where should they find the opportunity to be in touch with the Soon team, maybe pitch an idea? What kind of support can they expect from the Soon team as well? How can
right.
you get those guys up from like 0 to 1 in that journey?
Yeah. So yeah, I would say this, like we have built some apps ourselves, first party apps. So we are app builders ourselves, right? And we very much understand that the pain points app builder go through. So yeah, we're very hands on. I think that's what really kind of separates us from some of the other ecosystems. um, we go as far as like inviting folks to our backyard, right? Like our own um, builder houses, right, in our countries, right, to house everybody to co-work together. And for people to get in touch with us, I think it's starting from just following us on Twitter. Like we are very very active on Twitter about all the most recent like product developments, partnership developments. It's under soon, so it's at soon underscore SVM. That's our Twitter handle. But I think also just like as I said, try out some of these ecosystem projects, right? I see, for instance, you should also follow the soon the at 100x soon, which is just 100x soon underscore en. Yeah, that's the handle for them. um, yeah, I mean, all of these ecosystem projects are very close to us. So if you get in touch with them, they know who to direct you to.
That sounds amazing. And yeah, Joanna, I also wanted to take like the final leg of the conversation towards like being a founder in general in the crypto space. Now, you've been around for long enough, and you've
Yeah,
been in enough interactions, you've seen enough things happen. Can you give us like a brief background of yourself as well, and then tell us like some
yeah.
lessons that
I'm
you,
sorry I didn't do that at the beginning.
actually it's more suitable right now because like if
Okay.
you give that background and then tell us like one or two lessons that you would really want somebody who's like an early founder to know, which
Mm,
is not like an advice that they hear all the time, but it's like very
yeah,
specific examples or advice that you have learned from your experience in crypto or life in general, because I want to make this even beneficial for the people who are just tuning in for the funsies of it.
absolutely, absolutely. That's a great question. I think, yeah. Let me give the quick background, and I'll give the summaries of um, you know key takeaways. Right. So I um, I've been in crypto since 2017, and I started as as a hobby, right? So like most people, you dabble into investment into Bitcoin and other cryptos at the time, and then lost it all, and then got rocked a few times, dismissed it for a few years in my in my journey. But um, yeah, I basically realized that it was a light bulb moment that this is more than just an investment vehicle, right? It's more of a technological like advancement tool. So especially after like 2017, the ETH programmability came about, and the whole smart contract capability, right? So I quickly realized I needed to really learn more about the technical side because I didn't come from engineering background myself. So I took a coding lesson, learned about Solidity, programming language, and I basically started this crypto developer community here in New York City. And then just by continuing to learn from like-minded people around me, yeah, I basically dove deep into that rabbit hole, and realizing I was like, mind you, the whole time I was walking on Wall Street um, as a foreign currency trader. So I just realized I need to fully dive into crypto and quit my job, which I ended up doing finally in 2019. And my first job was with Coinbase. I was in a very similar position where I used to be, servicing like high net worth institutional clients. But this time, obviously, it's selling crypto to them. And after I did that for a year and a half, they tapped me. A few folks tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to join this new secret group, secret project that Coinbase was just incubating at the time. Was It was this NFT marketplace. So know if you remember, it was a really big deal at the time. 5 million people was on the wait list, and but somehow we missed the mark, right? So that was also just right before the whole collapse of the next buyer market. But that gave me a good chance to reset, and I realized I really wanted to just continue to build within like the ecosystem, like connecting with builders, with developers. So went to Optimism to join their BD team, and that's when I was on the other side of the table actually with Coinbase, and we decided to launch this OP stack, right, and Base as the first, um, very first beneficiary, or I should say partner of this um, endeavor. So that was very very cool to see. It has grown into the ecosystem we're talking about today, right? And in that process, right, I was really starting to think about what I can do as a founder, because I've seen the different ways like L1 L2s are growing their ecosystem, um, and I realized the main thing is actually user experience. We're going back to the same kind of like topic of the day, right? Is user experience. What really differentiates a chain from the other is not how much ecosystem incentives they're pumping into, how much money they're throwing into this ecosystem, but it's really like, can you get that differentiated user experience on X chain, right? And then at the time I saw what they did with Solana. I have personally really fell in love with all the the dexes, right, and the differentiated experience there. So that's when the light bulb hit, and decided to make that SVM infrastructure available on ETH. Yeah, that's where we started our journey. But maybe just going back to your second question, right? The what I can say, sitting where I am today, to a new founder, I think the main things are, um, number one, really try to push your boundaries, like push yourself out of the comfort zone, and don't just do what other people expect of you. Um, yeah, basically try unconventional approaches, right? So yeah, I mean, you already, as a founder, I think it's a really lonely journey. Right? You're gonna have to get some pushbacks from folks anyways. So yeah, basically really stick to your guns, and if you have a unique perspective, like stick to it. That's number one. And two is, um, I mean, there's a lot of glamour, right, coming to being a founder, but there's also very much the downside, right? So I really don't think being a founder is a fit for everybody. But that said, if you do have the privilege, of becoming a founder, just remember, like, even in your lowest point, there are a lot of people that still envy your position. This is actually something that my husband told me because I had a lot of those low points in the first like 6 to 12 months, when things don't work out. But yeah, just really have that confidence that, um, since you're already on this journey, you're going to have to, really kind of make it happen. So yeah, I don't know if that helps, with any
No,
prospective founders.
I think it really does. Joanna, thank you so much for showing up today. It was a pleasure having you. Take care of
Thank you so
yourself.
much.
Have a great
Yeah,
day.
it was a fun.